Hey guys, Ron here, and why the hell are we sitting here watching stupid YouTube videos when there are Pokemon out there who are constantly in great pain? That's right, some of these cute and lovable creatures live an excruciating life that none of you can imagine. Who are these poor souls? I mean, watch the video and find out. There will be 4 types of Pokemon described in this video. Number 1, Pokemon who are always in pain, either physically or psychologically. Number 2, Pokemon who tend to have huge birth defects that affect their quality of life and eventually lead to pain. Number 3, Pokemon who can individually enter a great deal of pain depending on their circumstances. And number 4, Pokemon who are possibly in pain based on the information given. Now I may miss a few Pokemon, so sorry for that, and of course, we're not talking about Mega Evolution or any scenario in which the Pokemon is only in pain during battle, because that would kind of include every Pokemon except for like Slowpoke and Shuckle. These two feel no pain whatsoever. They're hardcore. And it's kind of appropriate that I'm literally sick right now while I'm recording, so I mean, excuse me if I cough a bit or like the bass of my voice isn't as bassy. Okay, let's begin with the Pokemon who are always in pain, either physically or psychologically. Oh, my chest hurts, honestly. Paris's life is a terrible nightmare. It's born with the parasitic mushroom on its back that it has to constantly fight for control of its body and psyche, while the mushroom steals Paris's much-deserved nutrients. Generally, not a fun time. We're starting off pretty strong, aren't we? The only reason Parasect isn't here is because by the time it evolves, the mushroom is pretty much in control, and the bug host may just be an unfeeling zombie. It's a terrible existence, honestly. Probably the most tragic, but let's try to top that. While Psyduck's life isn't as bad, especially since there is much hope upon evolution, this little duck still deserves some pity. Every second of its life, this Pokemon is tormented by powerful headaches that cause it to cry and unleash mysterious psychic powers. At least it forgets this pain ever so often. That's why whenever you see a Golduck, give it a good thumbs up, because it's gone through a lot and deserves some respect. This story has a happy ending knowing that this guy gets the smile. Primeape, however, is pretty much always angry. This guy is in constant torment. A good example of psychological torture. It will never forgive those who have angered it. So much so that many are known to become so angry they die. Its body has even evolved so that its high blood pressure doesn't kill it, but eventually some Primeape veins burst. Why did I make this video, honestly? Alakazam's pain may be minor compared to the last few, but every Alakazam seems to face this issue. Severe neck pain. You see, the heads of these geniuses are so big that their frail bodies can't really support it. They avoid crushing their necks by holding up their heads using their psychokinetic powers. Sucks because their head is also constantly growing, so there's no cure. Fortunately, Cubone's pain usually goes away upon evolution, but in its current state, Cubone is as depressed as you can get. We all know why this Pokemon weeps at night, so there's no need to mention it and remind Cubone of its sad circumstances. However, Xatu's mother is probably still alive, but it's able to see when she dies and when everybody else is gonna die. This Pokemon stands still all day and looks into the past and future at the same time. Not only is that too much on the mind, it's said that one reason it sits still is because it's completely terrified of all the things it has foreseen in the future. Sucks to be this guy over here. It's gotta have more fun like Vigoroth does, but since I mentioned this dude, you know his life ain't that great. Its stress levels rise if it doesn't constantly move, but because it's constantly moving, it's always hungry, since it can't sit still and eat. But if it sits still to eat, its stress levels go up. It's a vicious cycle. Spoink is another Pokemon that must constantly move. If it stops bouncing, its heart apparently stops. Hopefully not instantly, but the stress of it all must be intense. Maybe as much stress as both Zweilous heads go through every day. It's explicitly stated that both heads don't get along with each other. They constantly compete to simply eat as much as they want. Imagine being Siamese twins with a vicious dragon. And you're also a vicious dragon. At least when they evolve, one head becomes the unanimous leader. Mostly because the other two heads lose their brains, so honestly the whole situation sucks too. I have said the word honestly a bit too much. At least Esper is sweet, but its friendliness is what can lead to most of its pain. You see, this cat can control the power it has. It can easily blast an entire block if it ever fully loses control of its psychic energy, so this baby's constantly under a great deal of pressure to not blow up everybody it loves. Love is also a factor in Salandit's pain. Every single male Salandit does whatever the females tell him to do. Because they give the females most of their food, they become malnourished and can never evolve. Malnutrition afflicts basically all male Salandits. Imagine always feeling empty. I bet Necrozma can empathize with Salandit. After being drained from its light, this Pokemon suffers constant pain and is extremely hostile because of it. It desperately searches for light in order to restore itself to its original form, but it's never enough. It's a sad and compelling story. But on the bright side, we have less tragic Pokemon to talk about, but their lives are still not easy. Here are some Pokemon who are born with huge health defects or genetic weaknesses that inevitably lead to severe pain. Rattata's here because its teeth never stops growing. I know I've used the word constant like 30 times already, but gosh darn it, Rattata has to constantly gnaw on things to file and whittle down its teeth, or else they'll get too big to live with. This is actually a common thing in real rats, but this is Pokemon, so it happens to the extreme. It's still an example of a Pokemon whose biology doesn't exactly make its life the easiest. Same as Voltorb, who may randomly explode. The ground merely being uneven can make this Pokemon explode and therefore faint. That's a very serious health problem. The only reason it's not in the always in pain list is that it's technically not always exploding. Another Pokemon who may not technically be in pain, but whose lack of control may put it in constant distress is Pichu. This Pokemon doesn't know how to store its electricity, and when little jolts discharge from its body, it gets startled. Imagine having a balloon constantly popping around you, and they also come out of your body or something, I don't know, but at least it's said that the older they get, the easier it is for them to control it. Still a bit scary. Unlike Darkrai, who is very scary. Good segue, I know. While it's not in any physical pain, this Pokemon doesn't have an easy life. It's always in isolation because it can give those around it lethal nightmares. It doesn't want to kill anybody, so it's forced to not form any connections with others. That's a bit painful. And another non-physical pain is had by Zangoose, who harbors memories of battling Seviper inside every cell of its body. That's not good. This Pokemon's got issues, and I'm honestly worried about him. And by now my voice is dying. But let's move on to a group of Pokemon who have the potential for great pain, but can honestly avoid it if they aren't born into specific circumstances or are just not stupid. The first one is Golbat. It has been noted that sometimes a Golbat will drink so much blood that it can't fly anymore. It falls on the ground and becomes food for other Pokemon. This is pretty common, by the way, considering all Golbats have a drive to greedily suck blood. A lot of Golbats are on the brink of drinking too much blood and dying. They're pretty dumb apparently, or just very hungry. Either way, they tend to be in pain. Now, not all mucks are in pain, but due to modern environmental improvements, some groups of mucks are going extinct, their environment and food sources dwindling. This is like the opposite of deforestation. In our efforts to make the world cleaner and healthier, we have affected the muck population. So do muck a favor and litter. Just throw your garbage everywhere. But unfortunately, there isn't much we can do to aid Tauros. If you look at this bull, you'll notice how its tails are whips. Yes, sirree, this Pokemon whips itself whenever it's angry or charges, or, well, pretty much most hours of the day. You never know, maybe Tauros is into that kind of stuff. But from an outside perspective, it looks like it hurts itself, so it's here. Gothitel's here too, but again, based on the actions of each Gothitelle, they may not be in pain, but those who have seen the lifespan of their loved ones aren't the happiest. At least they don't have it as bad as Xatu. And the final Pokemon in this category, Yamask, is one of those Pokemon that has been explicitly said to be a former human. It carries around its death mask, which is basically a model of its former face, and it's known that sometimes they look at their mask and cry. Honestly, once being a human and then being turned into a relatively unpopular Pokemon does seem like some kind of punishment, so I'd say it would be pretty painful. But some Yamask may be fine with this whole thing and don't mind. They certainly don't seem to care by the time they evolve. Look at Cofagrigus' grin. This Pokemon isn't in pain. But now it's time for our final category. The Pokemon who could possibly be in a good amount of unbearable pain, but have some kind of aspect to them that makes it difficult to tell. A good example of this is Metapod and Kakuna. So under their hard shell, they're melting. Like Caterpie is melting inside of Metapod and becoming a Butterfree. Technically, this happens in the real world, but real-world insects don't technically feel pain. But Pokemon don't have the same biology as their real-world counterparts. If Butterfree existed in the real world, it wouldn't be easily classified as an insect. It has 4 limbs, 2 body segments, it shows mammal levels of emotion, and clearly feels pain. It cries, for God's sake. So maybe Metapod is internally screaming, I don't know. Hypno can put anybody to sleep, but it suffers from insomnia. It isn't the only Pokemon with the insomnia ability, but it's one of the few to be able to contradict its entire gimmick, which seems tragic. Either way, insomnia is something you wish on your worst enemies, so I don't think Hypno is having a good time. Same with Mewtwo. This Pokemon is a complete psychopath. Scientists forgot to give this Pokemon a compassionate heart, so it literally does not care about anybody. It isn't happy, but by definition, it isn't really sad. Either way, it's not an ideal life. Genesect could be here too, considering it has been altered by scientists, and all the upgrades to its body may be painful. But that's too speculative. It's also speculative to assume that Sudowoodo hates water because it hurts him. But even if it doesn't enjoy the feeling of water on its skin, it's kinda terrible for an animal that lives in the wild. You know. where there's a lot of water. Hopefully they live in dry places like caves, like other rock types do. However, Sudowoodos are rarely found in caves. Spiritomb, however, deserves to be tortured. It was formed by 108 mischievous spirits. Now they're all bound to a keystone and are in one never-ending nightmare. The question is, does it feel pain though? Do ghosts feel pain? Yamask does. Now does Spiritomb have one consciousness or 108? I don't know, so I don't know if it's in pain. Guzzlord is constantly hungry, but since it's constantly eating, is it in pain? Maybe it enjoys being the Lord of Guzzling. But hopefully you enjoyed this video enough to leave a like and subscribe to see more. Make sure to check out the description for all the music I used, the link to my Patreon where you can donate to get cool rewards like seeing my videos days early, which you can do by clicking the join button as well. Did I also mention the new shirts I made for you guys? It's there too. And make sure to follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you guys very soon.